Welcome, fellow Toastmasters and guests. This meeting of online presenters has now begun. Guests, please note that in order to be a member of our club, you must be a current or former active member of Toastmasters International and have completed at least 6 speeches from either the traditional or Pathways programs, or you must have substantial relevant presentation experience that you demonstrate in a 2 to 3 minute speech delivered during one of our club meetings. All requests for membership are subject to approval by the members of our club. If you have not already done so, please change your panel to ensure it shows your name and your role if you have one. Right-click and select Rename to do so. And guests, please put a G, capital G, in front of your name. We have members and oftentimes guests from many countries throughout the world. Thus, as a professional organization, we ask that you please be aware of language or word usage that may be considered offensive or otherwise insensitive due to cultural differences. Please note that we are recording this meeting. Your video and audio contributions may be used for our club marketing purposes. Please remember to mute your microphone when you are not speaking, and remember to unmute if you are called upon. Please welcome our club president, distinguished Toastmaster, Louise Brown. Thank you, Mr. Acting Sergeant at Arms. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. And welcome to our meeting, another wonderful Monday meeting. Boy, it feels like we were just here last week, but of course we were. Okay, we have an intimate group with us today, almost about, I see about 16 members, and I see we have a returning guest, Imtanin. I know our VPE called in you a little bit before to introduce yourself. Hopefully you are with us and you can turn on your camera at some point. That would be awesome. Today is our special second Monday of the month Speakathon. And Andy and Marianne, please let me know if you also have any education or membership information to share. Okay, Marianne, no. Andy, anything to share before I turn it over to our Toastmaster?
Only to the fact that for most of you may have heard it during a previous meeting, but Toastmasters International has changed the level 1 program. For people starting level 1 new, you will see that there's some changes to the program. Be happy to talk about it at another time. Thanks, Lou.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. And probably a good thing to remind everyone at the end of the meeting as well. Now, let's kick things off with our Toastmaster of the day, Toastmaster Deborah Carr.
Hi, everyone. Well, we've made many changes since 6 o'clock tonight, and I think I have everything finally in place. Yay. What we're going to do, I have a couple helpers. One is timer, Lou Brown. If you want to tell about the timing.
Sure, certainly. Timing for speeches, I'm not sure if we're going to have table topics, but timing for speeches may vary. If any of the speakers have speeches other than 5 to 7 minutes, please let me know in advance of your speech so that I can time you correctly. And evaluations are 2 to 3 minutes. I remember last week we talked about if someone is giving a much longer speech to perhaps give the evaluator a little bit longer time as well. Should that be the case, alert me to that as well. Otherwise, I'll be timing everything and providing a report at the end of the meeting as far as qualifications. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Graham is speaking for 15 minutes. Okay, so you can, so that can be set up. We may have done, okay. Since wait a minute, let me read that plus this. I also have a vote counter tonight. And if you will tell us how you're going to count the votes, are you going to have them sent directly to you, or are they going to be done electronically?
I'm Toastmaster. My name is Mahfouz Rahman. I am your helper tonight to count the vote. So we'll go both ways in case those are e-ballot savvy. We'll give you the link. And if you like to send me a private chat, you can do that as well. And I will take both ways, and I'll report back at the end of the meeting for you.
Thank you so much, Master. I always get tongue-tied on your name. on your name. What we have tonight is equivalent to 3 speakers. If someone does want to step up and do table topics, we can add that in. If not, we'll putt and go from there. So tonight, our first speaker is Tricia, and I need to pull this intro up so I can read it. Trisha Smith is our first speaker. She's working from Visionary Communication Level 3, Increasing Knowledge and Developing a Communication Plan. Good communication requires a plan, and Tricia created a plan utilizing the following. Inspire an audience involves using a good, clear message to motivate, influence, and inspire others while establishing a strong rapport with your audience. Please help me welcome Trisha Smith.
Not sure that Trisha's there. Her screen has gone to just her background picture.
Oh, well, okay, I'm just looking.
I'm happy to step in now if you want me.
No, she's not. She isn't here. All right. So, well, this is fun. I said we were going to laugh tonight, so let's laugh. And should we just move into Graham then? Or should we wait for Tricia? Just move into Graham and flip flop around. This is fun. Okay. I'll be back. My screen again. Oh, this is fun.
Graham, real quickly, 15 minutes. What is it? 12 to 17, 14 to 16?
I'm suggesting 11, 13, 15 for timing.
Thank you.
Okay. Graham Cairns, prior to the COVID-19 pandemic, was an occasional cruise ship lecturer. He delivered lectures and information centers to those sailing around the South Pacific. That sounds good. As the pandemic winds down, international tourism is kicking back into gear, and also the pleasure cruising is no different. Graham is also gearing up his resume for his onboard presentations, and one of the lectures he's working on is an hour-long presentation on some of the great travelers of the world. Tonight, he's presenting from Presentation Mastery, Level 5, Demonstrating Expertise, How to Prepare to Speak Professionally. Graham will present some of the vignettes in this presentation, and the title is Travelers, You're in Good Company. Take it from there, Graham.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. Before we begin, can I get a show of hands, if I may? How many here like to travel, to seek out new places and new experiences? Yeah, I thought there'd be a few hands. That's no great surprise. But I want to ask you a question. Have you ever considered how traveling for leisure is a relatively modern phenomenon, at least for the masses? I mean, until about a century or so ago, it was only the very rich or the very adventurous who struck out to far-flung places just for the sheer joy of it. Well, today we're going to look mainly at the adventurous, but there will be a few side trips to the offbeat as well. Now, for much of my material, I have to acknowledge the fine research done by Dr. Vehas Liluvicius from the University of Tennessee, who wrote a series of lectures on voyages of discovery that I can highly recommend. Now, I catch some of the research from him, but I have to say any errors are mine. So let's begin. Over the next 15 minutes or so, I'm going to be talking about an ancient Greek who hasn't got the press of Odysseus, but whose journeys helped set the gold standard for curiosity. We'll also look at Leif Erikson and his Viking contemporaries, and at a slave boy who may well have been the first person to circumnavigate the globe. But let's start back in the ancient world. The time, around 300 BC. The place, modern-day Marseille in France. The man, Pytheas, described by many as the first scientific explorer. Bit of background about the ancient Greeks. They were great thinkers, but much of their philosophy was actually based around the concept of home, which made the voyages of Pytheas the Greek really quite astounding. I mean, he left his home, a colony on the Mediterranean where the French city of Marseille now stands, to travel to lands and people that the Greeks knew only as barbarians. He headed outward until he could go no further. He stood at the very edge of the world, or so it must have seemed to him. Drawn by the thirst for knowledge, Pytheas journeyed to the outer north, perhaps as far as Iceland, to a place where the sea and the sky seemed to become one. Now, to those of us in the 21st century, with our high-definition television and our Blu-ray DVDs, we've seen the images, but imagine what it was like for a man from the warm Mediterranean to see that extraordinary vista. There'd been travellers who travelled far and wide before, but Pytheas was different. He was exploring for what today we would call scientific knowledge, because curiosity was driving him on. He is, with good cause, seen as the father of scientific exploration, but I would also argue that he is the father of tourism to slake a thirst for knowledge, something that I share and that many of you have said you do as well. Let's talk about the Greeks. In general, Mediterranean people were very wary of the ocean. I mean, they saw the sea, with all of its turbulence, as being the complete opposite of order, the land. They saw sea travel as daunting and dangerous, but they also saw it as necessary for trade. The first great sea traders of the Mediterranean were the Phoenicians. They traded in a much valued purple dye, which was made from seashells in a secret process. They set up colonies all around the Mediterranean, in North Africa, even further out into the Atlantic, places like Cadiz in Spain and parts of the African coast. It's believed the Phoenicians may even have gone further into the Atlantic Ocean, to Madeira and the Canary Islands, possibly even the Azores. Now, they're places that would be forgotten until they were rediscovered by Iberian sailors in the Middle Ages. The other great traders of the Mediterranean before the Greeks were the Egyptians. But here's an interesting thing about the Egyptians. They were largely restricted to land or to coast-hugging journeys. Why? Well, they had an attachment to the lands of Egypt and the River Nile. They believed in resurrection, and it seemed that they feared if they explored too far away, they could die away from Egypt and would therefore be unable to be resurrected. Having said that, there was one famous exploration in the 15th century BC, which went south to Somalia, and it brought back large amounts of luxury wares like cinnamon and ebony and ivory and gold and monkeys and panther fur and even frankincense trees. There are rumors of other great journeys in the 7th century BC, for example. A pharaoh hired a Phoenician fleet to circumnavigate Africa. Think about that. They needed to land every autumn on the coast and plant grain and then wait for it to ripen and then harvest it and then resume their journey before they could finally sail back into the Mediterranean. That is a feat that couldn't be duplicated for nearly 2,000 years by Bartholomew Dias. But let's go back to Pytheas and the ancient Greeks. They saw themselves as heroic explorers, as shown in all of their myths and legends. I mean, the stories of Jason and the Argonauts and the Homeric epices of Odyssey. But as I say, they mostly stayed within the Mediterranean until Pytheas the Greek. The Greeks had long traded with Celts and others from Northern Europe, but that trade had always been land-based. And Pytheas decided he wanted to sail north to see the places where wonders like amber came from. After his travels, he returned to Marseille and became something of a travel writer with his book On the Oceans. Now, we don't have a copy of the entire book in this present day, but it was so extensively quoted that there are large parts of it still available to us. If his measurements are accurate, and there's really no reason to believe they're not, then he reached as far north as Brittany and the Isle of Man, possibly even northern Shetland. We know that he crossed the English Channel to Cornwall, where he found the tin mines at the heart of a trade that was essential to making bronze. But up till now, he'd been traveling on fairly established trade routes. Now, he's about to venture much further. Traveling from Cornwall, Pytheas probably went along the west coast of Britain as far as Scotland. He reported hearing of an island that was probably Ireland. He almost certainly stopped on the Isle of Man and then the Orkneys, those are those islands north of Scotland, and there he was amazed by the height of the tides. You see, he was familiar with the Mediterranean tides, but in the Orkneys, those tides can reach 15 meters or more. It was this observation that apparently led him to connect the moon with tides, and he appears to be the first scientist to actually publish that information. But it wasn't just nature that attracted Pythias. No, he also observed the native peoples in the areas he traveled through. In England, for example, he saw them leading hard-scrabble lives, thrashing grain in barns because of perennially wet conditions, and with little of the light and warmth that blesses the Mediterranean. Having been in England in a winter, I know exactly what he meant. From the British Isles, Pythias went to the furthest part of his trip, to the edge of the world and beyond, it seemed. Now, in his writings, Pythias talks of sailing 6 days to reach a mysterious place called Thule, an island in the cold north, where he says seawater is congealed there. Nights last only a few hours, although he also reports that at other times in Thule, there are 6 months of day and 6 months of night. Now, other writers before Pythias have spoken of the land of the midnight sun, so it's possible that he was merely reporting what he heard. But he also, for the first time, described the sea as like a lung there, that earth and sea hang together in suspension. Now imagine, if you can, seeing for the first time heaving pack ice. If you think about it, Pythias' description fits that really well. Well, all of these stories gathered together form the basis of the legend of Ultima Thule, a distant place beyond the known borders of the world. From here, Pythias sailed south along the east coast of England and possibly to Europe to see where amber came from. I mentioned amber before, but what is it? Well, it's a gem. It's actually not stone, but petrified resin, tree sap of forests that grew in northern forests, I don't know, 40, 50 million years ago. They ended up at the bottom of the Baltic and North Sea, and then the amber washed ashore. It's golden and it comes in many shades, and it often contains what are called inclusions, like bugs and spiders and pine needles and more. It also has electrostatic properties. If you rub it on wool, many people considered it to be magic because it would attract, and so they thought it had healing properties. From Neolithic times, the trade in amber grew until eventually there was what might be called the Amber Road of trade routes that ran from Northern Europe down to the Adriatic and from there into the burgeoning civilizations of the Mediterranean. Now, we don't know if Pythias ever saw where amber came from, but if he did, it would have either been at a port in the Baltic Sea or perhaps at Denmark. But in any case, after exploring the area, he returned home and wrote his book. Now, if you're expecting me to say it was the first travel book, a rip-roaring ride outlining his adventures, well, I'm sorry, you'll be disappointed. It was, in fact, a very dry and dusty tome, as befitted a man who was essentially a scientist. But it was truly extraordinary. Now let's move forward about, I don't know, 1,300 years. We'll stay in the frozen north of Ultima Thule, or Iceland. It's here that Leif Erikson, also known as Leif the Lucky, hits history stage. Now, it's important to note, the nickname Leif the Lucky doesn't mean lucky in the sense that we mean it today. It's more a case of him being, if you like, favored by the gods with skills like navigation and leadership and fighting and the like. Those are all skills that do require a fair amount of hard work, however. So maybe it is lucky in the sense that we use it, but only if we accept that famous quote, "I'm a great believer in luck. I find the harder I work, the luckier I get." Well, Erikson, as his name says, was the son of Eric, the great Viking leader Eric the Red. And according to the Icelandic sagas, he established a settlement at Vinland, somewhere on the North American coast, probably in what is now Newfoundland. That meant that he beat Columbus to the Americas by 500 years. But apart from a few ruins, there's no signs left of his epic achievement. So how did he make his way across the frigid North Atlantic to modern-day Canada? Well, again, luck comes into play. Leif's vessel at one stage was blown off course when he was near Scotland. And when he and his men finally reached it back to Norway, the tales of his daring do put him in good stead with the king, who promptly made him a member of the royal court and converted him to Christianity. Leif's father, Eric the Red, had by this stage set up a colony in Greenland. Now, that's a deliberate misnomer, by the way. Eric knew there was very little green about Greenland, but he thought a catchy name might attract more settlers. Leif was sent to try and convert those settlers when again he got caught in a storm and blown off course, this time clear across to the North American continent. And this is where the harder I work, the luckier I get bit comes in. Another Viking, Bjarni Herjolfsson, had previously spotted those green, rich lands of Northumberland, but he didn't land. because that wasn't his job. Instead, he went back home. Ericsson, on the other hand, decided to give it a red hot go. And he headed back there with 35 men to land first at Baffin Island, then Labrador, before finally spending the winter at a place he called Vinland because of the vines that grew there. Unfortunately, the Vikings were, as you've probably seen in the movies, a rather argumentative lot, and squabbles soon erupted. That, coupled with the increasingly strident objections of local people, meant that the Norse abandoned Vinland after only about 3 years. Meantime, Leif had headed home to take over leadership of his father's clan. He died around 1020, somewhere between 40 and 50 years old, but in his adventuring days, he had really created a splash as the leader of the first European expedition to get to the Americas. Time now for another jump, this time to the early 1500s, when Magellan found a way around the Americas via the southern tip of South America, and his crew became the first to circumnavigate the globe. Now, Magellan himself was not amongst them. He'd been killed in the Philippines. And in a strange twist of fate, a slave boy may have been the actual first transglobal traveller. You see, sometime before 1511, there was this young slave brought to Spain from his home near Sumatra, in what is now Indonesia. Magellan acquired him, renamed him Enrique, and took him on an epic journey. After Magellan's death, the Spaniards' crew refused to release the youngster, despite his master's last will and testament. So Enrique decided, no, I'm not hanging around, and he slipped away during a stoush with local natives. Enrique disappears from history at this point. But given that the Philippines is literally only a hop, skip, and jump away from Sumatra, it's almost certain that he made it home long before the Spaniards managed to reach their home 15 months later. And so, rather than Magellan or his crew being the first to circumnavigate the world, it would appear that Enrique was. Isn't history a wonderful thing? Anyway, if you're traveling soon, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like you to think about those that went before you, who blazed a trail for you, and thank them. Because if you are a traveller, then you are in good company. Madam Toastmaster.
There we go. Excellent, excellent. The timing one looks like it went well too. Oh, where am I at here? Our next speaker is Trisha Smith. She's working at Visionary Communication, level number 3, increasing knowledge to develop a communication plan. Good communication requires a plan, and Tricia has created a plan utilizing the following: to inspire the audience, an audience involves using a clear message to involve, influence, and inspire others while establishing a strong rapport with the audience. Please help me welcome Trisha Smith.
Thank you. It's true. Inspiring your audience is a gift. It takes knowledge and wisdom and expertise, a good message to be able to motivate and encourage someone and have good rapport. Stay inspired through the joy of smiling. A heart full of joy and goodness makes a cheerful face. Did you know, based on current research, that women tend to smile more than men? These are just numbers. Women smile on the average of 63 times a day. Shall I say how many for men? Less than 8, but after this meeting, that'll change, at least for this group. Children smile more than 400 times a day. It takes 43 muscles to smile and less than 8 to frown. Greetings, fellow Toastmasters friends and guests. I'm Trisha Smith. I'm going to inspire you to experience joy in your daily life. It's a conscious effort, something we have to focus on, to be thankful and grateful, to smile, knowing the benefits of smiling and joy, and bringing joy to others. A heart full of joy and goodness makes a cheerful face. Our face is our countenance. It's our appearance. It might be the first thing someone sees when we walk into the room. It shows our friendliness, our confidence, our welcoming. It lightens up our whole appearance from head to toe. So what are the benefits of smiling? It can change your mood. It can help your immune system. It burns calories, ladies. It can make you more attractive if you smile, right? More friendly. It has positive results on others and helps your attitude. So how does joy work? Does joy make you smile? Does smiling bring you joy? We're still getting to the other side of COVID. Hate to mention that. And I've noticed, even going to the doctor these days, they always screen you with the questions. Have you experienced any sadness, disappointment, discouragement, depression, right? Even our employers have mental health resources. Well, we may not be able to control what happens to us. Our situation and circumstance don't define us because we can choose in how we deal with it. And it starts with our thoughts, which leads to our actions and our attitude, and can be positive or negative based on how we think of the situation. The opposite of joy is sorrow. We can overcome sorrow by joy, starting with how we think about things and make progress through a situation or help others too. We have to practice joy. We have to smile in the face of adversity, laugh when there's nothing to laugh about, and use laughter as good medicine. Laugh, haha, with me. Being joyful is cheerful, it's contagious. If somebody smiles at you, has there ever been a time you don't smile back? Even walking down the street, right? You just might have a friendly face and somebody will smile at you, or you smile at them and it brings a smile to their face, and you just may make somebody's day. Here's a little trick. See this pencil? If you know a negative Nancy, someone who complains, guess what? There's a saying, complain and remain, praise and be raised. Here's a trick. If you have trouble smiling, put a pencil in your mouth and practice smiling, because it curves up the corners of your mouth like this. And you can even talk like this. You can practice like this. You can work on the computer like this. And I guarantee you, if you show that negative Nancy and have an extra pencil and show them how to do that little trick, you'll both be laughing. It works. Negative neighbor, negative friend. How do I practice smiling? Yep, every day. Guess what? I use a mirror. See if you can see my mirror. Can't see my mirror. I have a mirror. I look in the mirror. I practice smiling, just like posing for a picture, right? It makes a difference. Or, of course, we've got our handy dandy cell phones, right? Selfies, even taking a picture of someone else or saying you're going to. They always pose for the picture, and a smile makes a better picture, right? That's our appearance. Smiling, we have a choice. We can make a situation positive just by smiling. We don't have to say anything, and it turns up a situation into a positive just by smiling and thinking about something joyful. If you're sad or upset about something, pull out the photo albums, pull out your cell phone, look at a happy picture or a happy memory. It'll make you smile. So does smiling bring you joy, or does joy make you smile? Make someone's day and bring joy into your day as well as theirs, even with just a smile. Thank you.
Thank you, Tricia. We have another surprise. Pam jumped to the forefront, and she's going to speak tonight. And April is going to be her evaluator. So we did get another speaker. That's great. Thank you, Pamela. Pamela, where did that bounce up? There we go. Pamela is also working from my communication plan, the Visionary Communication Level 3, create a communication plan. So Pamela, thanks for taking the spot tonight, and let's welcome her to and hear what she has to say.
Good evening, my friends, digital communicators around the globe. My project in Visionary Communications was to create a communication plan. Now, you might think this is a bit strange, since I've been a Toastmaster since 2013. January 2013, that's been 8 years. You would think that I'd be very, very good at creating a communication plan. I thought I was a really good communicator. But a communication plan is very different than being a good communicator, specifically if you want to communicate online. Today, I'm going to be talking about my business. I am a private tutor, and I have changed my name from North Dallas Tutoring to Your Personal Tutor, because for the most part, my business was located in the northern part of Dallas, and everyone I tutored was in the northern part of Dallas. Since COVID, life has changed. I'm online a lot, and now some of my students are no longer in the north part of Dallas. I'm rebranding myself, and with that rebranding comes a new communication plan. You see, I've done social media before. Well, I've done a lot of posting. Let's put it that way. I've created a lot of posts. What were they about? I don't know. I looked up different things, I posted. I looked up something else, I posted. For a while, I found a new app on Instagram. Now, if you want to load up your phone with new swanky apps, what you should do is get an Instagram account, and you will get challenged to buy or just to try a new app probably every day. This is one of those apps, and I created a lot of fun posts on that for North Dallas Tutoring. There were different ideas. I'm going to go a different route this time. With my new brand, Your Personal Tutor, I'm going to work with the plan that Toastmaster helped me create. The Toastmaster module said to create a message. What message do I want the World Wide Web to know about me and my Toastmastering and about my tutoring business? Well, I like to talk about learning for life, your journey, your education journey, and your family plan. Those are three main subjects I'd like to talk about with my tribe, my community, the people who happen to read my post and newsletter coming down the pike. Now, the next thing Toastmaster, the module asked me to do was think about who would be interested in this message. This message is about it's about teaching, learning, and creating. Who are those types of people? Now, one person who would be very interested in that would be a teacher. I know as a tutor, I'm looking for worksheets on specific subjects that I need at different times. So I'm quite a bit of a worksheet. I'm a worksheet expert at finding the best ones on the internet. And I know that teachers do that quite a bit. Who else would be interested in my newsletter? Well, families who are very interested in academics. There's people who the parents have a lot of co-teaching, and they either are homeschooling or they're supplementing what's going on in the classroom. Another group of people who would be interested in what I'd have to say is what we would dub high stakes testing. Now, that's a buzzword in the United States. And what that really refers to is the law that was passed by George W. Bush, No Child Left Behind. What happened is it created new dynamics in education because people had to align with certain standards, and those end of year testings started to make some different decisions. So there's a buzzword through the United States in the academic that's high stakes testing. Those people would be interested in what I had to say about year-end testing, specifically for their state. Now, Toastmaster said what I should do is create milestones, dates, and figure out how I'm going to deliver these messages. What I'm thinking of right now is a newsletter and short YouTube broadcast on some of those different topics. In the past, I've just tried to create different messages one at a time. It was a bit ad hoc. Now I'm taking a step back and I'm thinking about what message do I want to deliver and having a lot more thought to it. As I'm creating this plan, I'm projecting that I'm going to begin doing this in 2022. In January, I'm going to start my first post. And also, I'm required to track different things about my communication plan. Now, you might say, sure, isn't that what you would do? It might not be so obvious if you're new to this. But in the end, I really like what Walt Disney said. The best way to get started is to quit talking and just start doing. That's my plan. I'm going to start doing in January.
Thanks, Pam. Thanks for stepping forward like you have. Somewhere or another, we are missing Kim, but Kim will be back around, hopefully. I've messaged her twice. There she is. She did pop back. Right now, if you will please send say it for me, Mafizer. There, okay. If you'll please send Mafizer your vote for best speaker. We have a few minutes. Kim also, along with being general evaluator, offered to be a offer table topics. Everybody did qualify tonight, which is great. So please send your vote in. Kim, did you put anything together or no? Because I was even messaging.
Honestly, I didn't know you wanted me to, but I do have a list from, I was Table Topics Master about a month back. And I only had a chance to do 2 of them. So I have a bunch of questions.
Okay, wait, let me find out if we have time because we're at 8:23 now. Lou, do you think? I think we're tight.
We have time for a few. Marianne, do you, will you be going longer than 2 to 3 minutes for your eval? You don't have to, just curious.
I was told that I could, so I was going to go a little bit longer, but not the full double.
Okay, that's fine. So yeah, we can do 2 or 3.
Okay, is that my cue?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so table topics tonight. We're going to go back to travel, which was when I was Table Topics Master before. And all right, so here is the question. So when called upon, please let us know where you are from, whether it's where you were born or where you consider you live now or whatever it is. And you will have 1 to 2 minutes to respond to the scenario. So a young couple are newly engaged. They are planning their wedding. They've decided on a destination wedding. This is where all the guests come to a city for both the wedding and a fun vacation preceding the wedding. Please tell us why the city you're from would be the perfect place for this newly engaged couple's destination wedding. Toastmaster Andy Byrne.
There he is.
You're muted, Mr. Andy.
Let me repeat the question that you asked. Tell me about my favorite city that I've been to. Is that what your question was?
Actually, it's wherever you consider you're from. And if a couple is planning a destination wedding, please convince them why they should have their destination wedding in your city.
Okay. Thank you very much, Miss Table Topic Master. That's not an easy question. I've lived in multiple cities throughout my life, starting in New York City. I grew up until age 6, right across the street from the Museum of Natural History. My afternoons were playtime with the dinosaurs and other things that were in the museum. So that was a lot of fun. Then I moved out to Long Island, Nassau County in particular, and there were scenes like what you have behind you, a lot of room for playing and getting out and seeing the outdoors. Then I moved back to New York City much later in life after spending some time in college at Stony Brook, which is on Suffolk County in New York State. After that, I made it to Louisville, Kentucky. And there, as I arrived in the city, I asked the information clerk, as I pulled in to the information station, tell me about the Kentucky Derby and how do you get tickets? And after I asked the question, he started laughing so hard he fell out of his chair. And I said, what did I say that was so stupid? He said, he didn't say anything stupid. It's just that it's a generational thing. You have to be left those tickets by your great grandfather's grandfather if you hope to get any tickets or own horses in the race. That was Louisville. Then I moved to Florida 37 years ago. I was tired of the cold, and I spent some time in Ohio as well. What you want for your destination wedding really depends upon what you want for yourself and what kind of personality you are. Do you like warm weather? Do you like cold weather? Do you like interesting places to visit? Do you like museums? Do you like art galleries? Depending upon what you like, you can pick out your city. Thank you very much, Table Topic Master.
Thank you so much, Andy. For the second question, a hot air balloon company is planning to offer hot air balloon rides from the city you're from. Please describe what they will see as they float and navigate over the city you're from. Toastmaster April Elazee.
Sorry, Madam Table Topic Master, I was working on my evaluation. So I'm sorry, if you could please repeat the question.
I am so sorry. I forgot that you had a role tonight. Do you mind doing a table topics or should we?
Yes, I can do a table topics if you can just repeat the question, please.
Absolutely. So a hot air balloon company is planning to offer hot air balloon rides from the city that you're from. Please describe what they will see as they float and navigate over the city that you're from.
The city that I am currently living in, I think would be more interesting. They're going to see on any given day, they're going to see a lot of water because I live in the coastal part of Virginia. So you're going to see a lot of coastal Chesapeake Bay, ocean, and the mix of bay water. And just depending on what side you're on, you're also right now, because we're in the season of fall weather. So you're going to see the autumn trees with the beautiful orange and red and dark red leaves. And you're going to, of course, see like the suburban neighborhoods of homes. And you can see on any given day, kids playing. So right now, I believe it's going to be a beautiful time if someone's in a hot air balloon flying around. So you get to see the beach, and you also get to see the beautiful fall and beautiful trees and leaves. They're falling down from the beautiful trees. Back to you, Table Topic Master. Sorry.
Thank you so much, April. I know I'm supposed to ask afterwards, but guest Imran, would you like to handle the table topics today?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. What do people think they know about the place you are from that just isn't true? Toastmaster Imran.
Yeah, thank you, Table Topic Master and respectable fellow Toastmasters. So actually, I belong to a city called Islamabad in Pakistan. So the people don't know about it, like it has a very natural beauty, and it has a mountain, and it's surrounded by mountains, and it's a valley. But the one thing which people don't know is that there are lots of orchards very near to my city, and you have to dig some efforts to go there, and there are different kind of fruits there. So normally people don't go on that side, which is very far from the downtown or from the main city. So so this is a hidden treasure there, and if you go there and you find that it's a very long queue of the orchards, and you actually pick the fresh fruit from there. So this is, I think, is the hidden career there. And most of the people don't know about that city. So yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, guest Imran. Lou, do we have time for any additional table topics?
Madam Toastmaster, what do you think?
I think we're good.
Okay, we're good.
I'd rather have extra time to hear from the guests and things like that.
Certainly.
Then back to you, Toastmaster of the Day, Deborah Carr.
If everyone will please send, did everyone qualify? Lou? They did. Okay. So if you'll please send your votes to Matt Preserve, that would slaughtered it again. Then that would be absolutely great for table topics. Next, we have our general evaluator, and I'm going to send that right back to Kim.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster of the Day, Deborah. What an awesome evening we're having. We are now starting the educational part of the meeting where we receive the gifts of evaluation. A big part of how online presenters helps to transform speakers into even better speakers and more confident speakers is the wonderful and actionable feedback each speaker receives from their evaluators. With this valuable feedback, the speakers and everyone else watching can use this input to improve their speaking capabilities and in turn bring more value to their audiences. My role as general evaluator is to introduce tonight's evaluators. Before we start with the evaluations, could I please ask for the timer today, Lou Brown, to remind us of the timing requirements for the evaluator's speeches. Take it away, Lou.
Madam General Evaluator, evaluations are 2 to 3 minutes, green light at 2 minutes, yellow light at 2.5 minutes, red light at 3 minutes, 30 seconds to wrap it up. Back to you.
Thank you, Lou. The first evaluator for tonight is Marianne Grady. She will be evaluating speaker number 1, Graham Cairns. Please welcome Marianne.
Good evening, fellow Toastmasters, and good evening, Graham. I want to thank you for another fascinating history lesson. You used a lot of very descriptive terms as you spoke about the different places. You stood at the edge of, or he stood at the edge of the world. The sky and the land became one, a coast-hugging journey, earth and sea hang in suspension. Phrases like this allow us to create an image in our mind's eye and visualize the places that you spoke of. So that was wonderful. You used congruent gestures throughout your talk, but I did want you to be aware that when you use the gestures on your very appropriate virtual background, it pixelates, especially when you were tracing the map and going down. As you spoke, your eyes were not always on the camera. And I don't think it should be a death stare, but I'm sure you had to refer to your notes with such a long presentation, but I think your eyes were downcast more than they should have been. So maybe you were looking at your screen for a reaction, but I just wanted to make you aware. Graham let me know that the presentation he gave tonight was part of a larger presentation, and he wanted to know about transitions and how everything flowed, and I think all of that went wonderfully. Some suggestions for improvement. Now, you started with an engaging question, but there were no other questions or attempts to check in with the audience. Now, I know you had a lot of time constraints, though, even when you spoke about Leif Erikson, you could have just said, has anyone heard about him in your history class? Just a quick something to get the people to think. Short check-ins are very good. Another opportunity I think you had was for humor. And humor is also a very good tool of engagement. So you mentioned that Leif Erikson was off course a couple of times at least, and you could have made a joke about like GPS or, you know, not knowing his way, something like that. But again, just something to keep engaging. And the reason I suggested is that when presenting so much information at one time, it may be harder for the audience to stay focused. So engaging them often would be to your benefit. Overall, I thought your speech was very entertaining, educational, and enjoyable. And I would love to be on one of your cruises to hear it live. Back to you, General Evaluator.
Thank you so much, Marianne. Our second evaluator today is Malenko. He will be evaluating speaker number 2, Trisha Smith. Please welcome Malenko.
Thank you very much, Madam General Evaluator. Most welcome members. And Tricia, what an inspiring speech. Indeed, you did inspire us to smile. You inspire us to just spread the joy that you were talking about. You started with a really, really powerful opening. Then I could see the structure flowing into the main body and really powerful conclusion. Now, your gestures were congruent with your style, with your own infectious smile that spread around the screen. I could see the adjectives that you were using, and I could see a few personal examples of how we can practice joy in our life. Those things I was really, really looking for. You mentioned a number of advantages of how joy and smile can lift up a depression, could help other people to feel happier, joyful, and just achieve their better goals in life as well. You use props and even the pencils, all good style, and just putting it in the mouse. Those things are quite useful. Yes, you are working on your visionary communication level 3. And the purpose of that was your project was to inspire audience, connect with audience, and build a rapport. You achieved your goals, in my view, in really high standards. At the same time, there are a number of things perhaps you could take into account that could make your next speech even better, more engaging. One is about eye contact. Eye contact, in my view, is important. And even now, I could see that you're looking slightly down below instead of looking directly. Now you're looking directly into the camera. That could help to create a more smiling atmosphere, in my view. Recommendation number 2, tell us your story. Tell us your personal story, what happened to you and how you managed, perhaps with a smile, to change someone's life. You, it is about you. I would like to see more of that smile on your face. Recommendation number 3, I would, because it's about smile, about laugh, why don't you talk about disadvantages of smiling, disadvantages of having fun, bring it on into the table. Just those 3 little recommendations, in my view, could take you to the next level. Overall, what an inspiring speech. Great engagement with the audience, using props, clear structure, really strong message in the end, few recommendations on board, and you will make us even more smile. Back to you, Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you, Andre. Our third evaluator today is April Elazee. She will be evaluating speaker number 3, Pamela Benjamin. Take it away, April.
Greetings, fellow Toastmasters, especially Pamela. Today's Pamela's speech was on my communications plan, which is a visionary communication level 3, creative communication plan. Awesome job, Pamela, with stepping up with a what I would call a back pocket speech. I asked Pamela what areas that she wanted to focus on, and she stated that she wanted to focus on, or for me to focus on, the intro, the conclusion, as well as the flow. And I felt like these areas, she did a great job and they flowed really well. They were well prepared, even though this was a last minute speech. I felt like it was pretty prepared with even with the slides. Everything was well organized. With the speech itself, the purpose of her project, it was for her to practice developing a communication plan, which is what she did. Her slides were very clear for the most part. There was one slide, I didn't do like a screenshot, but there was one slide, it wasn't as clear, but the other ones were clear for the most part. And I like the way that Pamela sat to the left of the slides. There was one point that she did kind of you did kind of lean over to the left as you were talking, or actually to the right, to my right, where some of the words were kind of covered. It was the slides that were talking about the plans and milestones, but I did like the point that you did kind of have everything over to the right, but your language was very clear. I felt like you excelled with your language, your gestures, your hand movements. I felt like your facial expressions, it kept us very engaged. And the only thing that I felt that you should really challenge yourself, especially with this being so last minute, I mean, it seemed for the most part, it was prepared. So if you would never have signed up, I would have thought that you already were on the agenda. The only thing that I would say to challenge yourself is to maybe work on trying to use the camera more for eye contact. And I noticed, I guess for the other speakers as well, because I did notice you were kind of looking over to the side. I wasn't sure if you're looking at yourself or looking at us or looking at your notes, but it would be something to help to try to engage the audience into your speak by looking directly into the camera. Because one tip that I use for work, I use these little things like sticky notes, and it kind of helps to put like a little arrow on it. Sometimes that can help, or some people use stickers like smiley faces to help them kind of like look at the camera. That way people kind of feel like you're talking to them. And I think that could help with your future speeches as well. But great job overall. Back to you, General Evaluator.
Thank you, April. Now, could I please call on our timer, Lou Brown, to give us the evaluator's timers report for tonight's evaluations? Take it away, Lou.
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator. Marianne came in at 2 minutes and 30 seconds. Andre came in at 3 minutes and 10 seconds, and April at 2 minutes, 40 seconds, all qualified for voting purposes. Back to you.
Thank you, Lou. All of tonight's evaluators did qualify, as we mentioned, with the timing for tonight's evaluations. So thanks in advance to everyone for casting your votes now for Best Evaluator for tonight's meeting. And if you haven't done so yet, please also cast your vote for Best Speaker. What a show. 3 great speakers, 3 awesome evaluators. Thanks so much for those that stepped up at the last minute. Definitely a mark of advanced Toastmaster Club. Now we're on to another exciting part of the evening. Our vote counter, I'm so sorry if I butcher this, Mafazur Rahman is going to reveal the voting results for Best Speaker and Best Evaluator for tonight. Please welcome Mafazur Rahman.
Madam General Evaluator, you said right, you didn't slaughter the tape. So let me take that. And I believe people are still voting, and I'll go ahead with the Best Speaker with the drum roll. The Best Speaker is all the way from the other continent, Mr. Graham Cairns. All right. The table topic is speakers. I know someone jumped in while evaluating. And let's put our hands together for April Elise.
Wowie zowie.
And the last one, the best one. And I see people are still voting. Can I take another 5 seconds? All right. There you go. Count down. Count down. We're done. All right. The best evaluator for tonight, none other than, and she's hiding behind the camera, so I can't even say her name. Marianne Grady.
Hey, Marianne.
All right, back to you, Madam General Evaluator.
Congratulations to our winners. Big round of applause. Since I'm a new member to this Toastmasters group, and since I was traveling last month, this was actually my first online presenter speak-a-thon. And what a treat this has been. If I had to describe it in one word, it would be wow. In fact, if you looked up the definition of an advanced Toastmaster group in the dictionary, you would find a picture of this online presentations meeting. The quality of both the speeches and the evaluations is nothing short of phenomenal. Thanks to all of you for a job very well done. Both the speakers and the evaluators demonstrated strong body language, eye contact, vocal variety. And I'd also like to say that I really like the way tonight's evaluators talked about how the speakers made them feel, what their emotions, what their emotional reactions were to the speeches. And they also gave specific examples of what to do to improve an already terrific speech. So I think we all learn a lot when the evaluations are phrased in that kind of context. With that, well, I'd also like to say, I really like some of the stuff that was said. I think that the positive message from Tricia was wonderful. And honestly, all the specific examples were just phenomenal. So I hate to keep using the same words, but thank you so much to everybody. With that, I'd like to pass the stage back to our club president, Mr. Lou Brown.
Actually, Madam GE, could you call on the reports from the other helpers, please?
Oh, so I thought that today with the speakathon, I wasn't going to do that. So which helpers? am
Oh,
I
sorry.
calling?
Did we not have grammar? Okay, very good. That's why I'm looking around for the things in front of the names. Oh, okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. My bad. Okay. Madam Toastmaster Deborah Carr, do you have any last words for, I guess, to officially close your time as Toastmaster?
You know, we started out with a set agenda, and it ended up like whipped cream, and it all smeared out around and turned out beautiful. So I'm really glad that it worked out so great. It was fun. And that's the best part about Toastmasters. We all step to the plate when we need to. I would like to hear about you hear from the guests,
Wonderful.
if you'll take it.
Oh, sorry. Okay. And thank you for the food analogy. I think I know what I'm going to have for dessert tonight. It's certainly going to involve some whipped cream, maybe on cake. Okay, very good. Love to hear from our guests. We have one returning guest and I believe one new guest, unless he had joined us in a meeting some time ago. Suresh, what have you gained from our online presenters Toastmasters meeting?
Hello, everyone. My name is Suresh. I am from Boston area. This is my first time joining this group. I really liked all the discussions and all the presentations. Looks like this is a very vibrant group. I would like to come back.
Wonderful. And sorry, I forgot to ask, are you a current Toastmaster?
No,
And if
I
so,
am. No, this is my first time. Yeah.
got it. And did you say Boston?
Yeah, I am from Boston area. Correct.
Awesome. I worked in Boston for a number of years. Love Boston. Wonderful. Right near the Commons. Okay, Imtanen, I know, let me see, you're still with us, sir. Okay. How about you? I know you've been here once or twice before.
Yeah, I was actually, as this is my third appearance in this group, but as soon as first time I entered or joined this group, I was really amazed, and the level and the speaking power of the speakers. So this is my third time as a guest. Hopefully, I already talked with Mariana. My next participation will be as a member. So I will remove the G from my for the name. So thank you very much.
Awesome. Wonderful. Yes, thank you. And maybe we should start putting M's next to the non-guest names. That would be cool for those who don't have a role, I guess. Okay, awesome. And yeah, well, I guess an early welcome and congratulations to Imtanen. We're certainly looking forward to your participation in our weekly meetings. Let's see, Mr. VPE, do you have any additional information to share from an educational standpoint? Which, before we kind of fill roles for next week, I'll close the meeting at that point, but do you have anything else to share, upcoming events and so forth? Oh, you're on mute.
No, not. Am I still on mute?
Nope.
You're good.
The most important thing to share is the bountiful resources that are available as we go towards Thanksgiving. You have the resources of the club leaders. You have the resources of upper club leaders. In the case of non-districted clubs, that's usually dependent upon the resources of your club leadership. But Toastmasters themselves on the website have podcasts, they have video tutorials, and they have written materials. There is nothing that you can have a question about that you cannot find an answer to. And if all else fails, you can call up a phone number and somebody will pick up on the other side and say, I am lost. Can you help me? And the answer is yes. Back to you, Lou.
Thank you very much. Madam VPM, it sounds like we may very well have a vote next week. It sounds like him today. Well, I guess it depends on him, but if so, I would like to encourage all the members here to be present next week. Looking out over the crowd, these are the folks who normally are here every week anyway, so kind of goes without saying. I'm wondering if maybe the time change and perhaps some holidays are in the mix there as well. We normally have about 30 people, close to 30, 25 to 30 at every meeting. So this is slightly less than normal, but hey, I will say some of my other clubs, we have about 3 to 4 people. So this is actually very good. Dave, you have something to share?
I just wanted to ask the group here, obviously we don't have the whole club, but what do people think of the weekday speakathon format? It's something we started doing a little while ago, just trying to make more opportunities, make sure people are able to get their speeches in. Do we keep it? Do we change it? I guess it does look like we should recruit a table topics master because if we don't fill up all the slots, we don't have a need for that. So I think we have it set up for have as many as what, six speakers, and we haven't been getting that. So maybe it should just be 4 or 5. I'm just wondering what people think.
Or we could go every other month or something like that.
My 2 cents is to keep doing it and just seeing how it goes, because I think I want to challenge myself to do it. But getting past 5 to 7 is kind of a mental stretch for me, but that doesn't mean I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
So, but if I know there's the opportunity, and I keep hearing about it. So I think it was good to transition to have use the table topics for the white space that we had. But I think it's a good idea to get people thinking about longer speeches. And then we all have to be responsible to getting actually to do them, right?
Yeah.
I'm wondering with November and December with holidays, if that makes a difference, and to kickstart that after the first of the year, or maybe it doesn't matter at all.
Well, actually the Zoom special meeting that I'm planning is going to take the place of December's speakathon. So we sort of phased that out already.
Good point.
I think we should keep it. Well, even though I didn't use my opportunity today, clearly I wasn't prepared. At the same time, I'll just make sure I do it next time. And it's an opportunity for speakers to practice longer speeches. Something that, as Pamela mentioned and Graham masterfully demonstrated, can be done. So I think we should keep it, and we'll see how it goes maybe for the next few months.
Well, might I suggest that we make it 5 speaking slots instead of 6, since we don't seem to be even getting to 5. And make it 5 speaking slots and make sure that we have a table topics master. And I think we could go forward with that. So that's my thought.
And if we do have, say, 5 with table topics, we can still dispense with the other roles. That kind of saves a little time at the end.
Right. True.
Okay, anything else? Very good. Okay, I'm going to officially close the meeting. Please end the recording, but stick around, folks, for our little after hours party, as well as our VPE